Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome. We are live. We are live. We are live. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the first episode of season one of Breaking the Mold LLC Grief Recovery. I am so excited and ecstatic to be before you. This has been a long time coming. This has been a long time coming. I want to tell you. I want to tell you. Um, I am just grateful and thankful for just coming before you today. Um, but I am so grateful, so grateful. But let me let you know who I am. We are on Facebook, we are on YouTube, and we are on Instagram. How about that, y'all? We are there. We are there. But let me tell you, I am Coach Charlene Smith. I am an life empowerment coach. I deal with grief recovery. I am a minister of the gospel. I am also an author with a book named Naked and Unashamed. I am a mother, a grandmother. I am an entrepreneur. I have a handbag business called Stratagem, a gift from Lenny. I am so many things, but most of all, I am a child of God. That's who I am. But I want to thank you all for coming in tonight. Um, and it's going to be a great night. It's going to be an awesome night. And I am just excited to be here and do this with you tonight. This is my first broadcast, and we're going to be here every other Monday at 7 p.m. on all platforms, which is Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. So we will be here every other Monday dealing with grief, how to cope with grief, how to heal from grief, not to live in the spirit of grief, and to be delivered from that spirit of grief. But I am really coming out for the parents that are stuck in the pause of transition, the parents that can't get past the loss of a child. Just to give you some background on how this podcast came to fruition. It's this, y'all excuse me if I get a little teary eyed, but this is very near and dear to me, and this is a tough thing to do. However, I trust God. I trust God. But just to give you a little background on how God brought me to this place right now of dealing with grief, of dealing with and bringing others to grief recovery. God is He brought me through. He's bringing me through this grief journey due to the fact that I have a son that transitioned back on August 9th of 2022. I got a call at 11:05 a.m. to, well, he was declared at 11:05 a.m., but I did not get the call until 2:30 p.m. that day. But just to give you a little bit more, the last time I saw my son was on August 6th, 2022 at 3:30 p.m. with my last words telling him one of the things I've always told him was to be safe and I will see you later, and that I loved him. And always say this to him, but on this particular day, I said all of this not knowing that that was going to be the final time that I would see him with on this side of earth. Um, all that day, we left out the house at the same time, going to our prospective destinations. He was 31, had not been 31 for 30 days. He had just turned 31 on July 27th of that year. And so, yeah, this was this is very tough for me. So y'all bear with me. But I've never really told the full story. I told bits and pieces of my story. But to get back to what happened, I said all of this to him, not realizing that this would be the final time that I would see him. I didn't have any inclination that something was amiss until Sunday evening when he did not come home at a certain time because he had to be to work so early in the morning. On Monday, he would come home no later than 8:30 at night because he would have to be to work at 6 a.m. on Monday morning. But I tried calling him. He did not answer his phone. I texted him. He did not return a reply. And I started getting worried and I started reaching out to his friends and um, trying to see if they've spoken to him, when the last time they spoke to him. And everyone stated that they spoke to the last time they spoke with him rather was the day before, which was that Saturday, which was the last time I saw him. So I knew in my heart of heart that something was amiss because we always stayed in constant communication, whether it was via text or actual a phone call. And I found out his last location where he had been that night, that Saturday night, and go up fast forward into Monday, he still hadn't came home. I'm still not believing anything is wrong. I'm going on hope that nothing is wrong. That maybe he just got into some trouble and he was scared to tell me or something like that. But what it was is that I found out his last location, and by that I had to go put in a missing person report. Now that was a whole ordeal in itself because I am here in Atlanta, and let me tell you, it's dealing with the police here is a pain in the rear end. I would tell you that, and they weren't very helpful, and it was like I had to pretty much threaten them um, to put in a missing person report for my son. But you know, I got the missing person report done. I went home that night. This is Monday night. Praying, couldn't sleep. I slept on the couch just so that I can hear if his vehicle was coming into the driveway or his key coming to the door or he opened up the garage door just so that I can see and lay eyes on him. But then Tuesday morning comes. Um, and I received a call from my son's father. He lives in Ohio. That a nurse and a detective had contacted him, and I in turn contacted them. Which first I got in contact with. I tried to call the hospital from the nurse from the hospital. She didn't answer. So then I contacted the detective, and that's what's my first knowing that my son had been in a severe car accident, and that he was at a particular hospital here in Atlanta. And then once I got in contact with the nurse, she told me that my son was in ICU, that he had some really major injuries. But I'm thinking, okay, I'm praying, I'm calling up my prayer warriors, like, hey, we found him. I need y'all on the wall praying. But then the next call I get is from the neurosurgeon, and he's listened to me, all of his injuries, what they had done to, in the process of operating, blood transfusions, you know, tests they have ran, everything. But then at 2:33, in that phone call, he said he informed myself and his father because he was on the phone as well, and he said, "Unfortunately, ma'am, we had to declare your son deceased at 11:05 this morning." Now, I don't know about you, but as a parent, you want to be there for your child. You want to be there holding their hand, walking through this with them because they're in pain. You're trying to fix it, but you're trying to fix it, and it's nothing you can do in that moment. I let out a gut wrenching scream because I was outside of my home. And I let out a gut wrenching scream that bounced off the houses, and no one came out. No one came out. However, I jumped in the vehicle, called his sister that lives here, said, "Hey, we found your brother. We need to go. We need to get to the hospital." On the way down, I tell her what happened. And on the way down, I'm praying that they have the wrong person, that they have the wrong person. Once I get to the hospital, they have where they have their I get up to the hospital. That was another ordeal. I'm telling you, I ran into so many different obstacles through this journey that it would make your head spin. So I'm giving y'all the skated version, if you will, of not going into all of the details. But once I got to the hospital, got to the floor where he was, the nurse was there, and she was trying to prepare me before I saw my son. Once I got back to the room, I saw my son. He looked like he was sleeping. And all I could do was scream and say, "Not my son." I hit the floor. They're trying to get me off the floor. Then I got doctors coming at me, nurses talking to me, and all I needed was a moment. And all of that I say is that I had to put on this, I want to say, strong face, if you will. I had to toughen up my exterior because I still had to be strong for my daughter. She had her little baby there. He was just born that March. Um, and then I had to, really start putting things, taking care of business. So, one of the things that I want with us with this podcast is that it's a platform for all of those that are dealing with grief, that are, don't know how to come out of it. That's stuck in that pause transition, that's stuck right there and can't see, past their pain. Um, this is what this platform is about. It's moving you out of that pause and transition into the glory of God, into His. We're going to do it with grace. We have grief, we have grace, but we want to get to the glory of grace. We want to see the God's glory in all that happens in our lives. He will use your pain. He will turn your pain into a platform. He will turn your wounds into a witness, and He will turn this test into a testimony. And this is what Breaking the Mold Grief Recovery is about. This is what Breaking the Mold Grief Recovery platform podcast is about. This is not my podcast. This is our podcast. I'm looking for guests. I'm looking for those that want to tell their story on their journey of grief. Whether you're at the beginning stages, whether you're in the middle, whether you're on the other end of it, I want some people to come on here, tell their story, because we all have a story. We have all dealt with some form of grief. We have all dealt with, we have 16 different types of grief. I don't know if you knew this, but we have 16 different types of grief. And I'm just blown away by how all of us have been touched by this in some form of or capacity of it. When we shut down in 2020 during the pandemic, guess what? That was called collective grief because we stopped living our quote unquote normal life. The world shut down. I have never thought that the world would shut down. And then to listen to and watching the news and seeing the death toll numbers go up and up and up, I never thought that I would live to see that. We've dealt with some grief, but I am coming for those parents. I am coming for those of you that are so stuck that you can't move, And the whole point of the breaking the mold is we want to break the mold of grief off of you. We're going to have bouts of grief, but I don't want you to live in the spirit of grief. We're not living in the spirit of grief. We're not living in not dealing with, what the pain that we're dealing with. We want to face it, we want to deal with it, and we want to break it. Because yes, our loved one has transitioned. Our loved one, I want my son back here. However, comma, however, comma, we are not going to live in the spirit of grief. We are not going to live in the spirit of grief. If you would like to be a guest on this platform, I am going to put up my link tree. If you go on there, you will see the button that says podcast guest. Go ahead, fill out that form. Fill out that form. I will get in contact with you. We can have conversations and we can get you on because we all have a story of our journey of grief. It's just not my story, it's your story as well. We all have a story and people needs to hear your story. They need to see how they can get onto the other side of grief and not allow grief to stagnate you, to put you in that pause, to paralyze you in the sense of not being able to live your life out loud. We want to continue by honoring our loved ones, by living our life out loud. We want to continue to move forth in what God has called us to do in process of honoring our loved ones that have moved on or transitioned or even lost relationships. Dealing with divorce, that's another whole thing of grief. Dealing with anticipatory grief, that's dealing with divorce or dealing with the loss of a job, dealing with someone with terminal illness. I want to hear all from you. Whoever is dealing with something like that, dealing with the traumatic grief, delayed grief, ambiguous grief, compound grief, where we're dealing with death upon death upon death. We want to be able to walk through this together. You need that support network. I want to be a part of that support network for you. I have a coaching program that's coming out in May that I will walk one-on-one with you, in your grief journey to get you to the other side so that you won't stay stuck in that spirit of grief, that you won't stay stuck, not knowing that you're not just living to survive. You want to flourish, you want to thrive, you want to honor those that have passed on before you. In doing so, we need for you to come out of pause, out of the pit, out of that pause and transition. We want to turn your tears into triumph. We want to turn your tears into triumph, because let me tell you, it is it's a painful journey. It's a very painful journey, but it's a necessary journey. It's a very necessary journey. And I don't know anyone that has not been touched by grief or the loss of a loved one. I don't know anyone. Now, you may have not lost a child. Maybe you have lost a parent. Maybe you have lost a grandparent. Maybe you have lost a sibling. You know, whatever that case is, whatever that situation is, this coaching program is going to be for you. So make sure that you fill out, you stay connected. If you want, I will put my, let me see, I could put it up here. Um, I could put my email address up here. If you want to be a part of the coaching program, if you want to be in the know when it starts, when we're going to go ahead and I'm just trying to get this for you all. I should have had this done. But you can always email me. Let me see. Nope, that's wrong. Let me see. Hold on. That's wrong. There we go. Okay. You can email me at Breaking the Mold LLC, the digit one at gmail.com. You can email me and we can, I can get you into our database and we can go ahead and let you know when our coaching program starts in May so that you could be the first one on the list and get in. You might want to get in on the first round because you don't know what's going to happen after that. But just a little bit more about that is that dealing with my son's transition. Dealing with my son's transition, let me tell you, my journey has not been easy because he left two boys. He left two boys. And so you're trying to be present for, I'm trying to be present for my daughters because I do have two daughters. I'm trying to be present for my grandsons, but yet still be present for me. That is a lot to deal with. That is a lot to deal with. And me, as your grief coach, I want to be able to let you know that you don't have to do this alone. You don't have to move in this alone. You don't have to move in this alone. And it's let me see if I could show it. No, I can't. Let me see. I didn't My journey with grief started when I got the call. It started when I couldn't find my son. I was in a grievous state because I knew that something wasn't right. Because, like I stated before earlier, we were always in communication. But as the days were leading up to his 1 year anniversary last year, um, on August 9th of 2023, I kept asking God, why my son? Why my son? Um, I asked that even when planning his celebration of life. I asked that, why my son? And my and God said, you can handle the pain, but he needed to bring my son home for whatever the reasons were. He needed to bring him home, but he said, I knew you can handle the pain. Now, I didn't ask for this anointing. I didn't ask to be in this club again because I didn't tell you. This is not my first child that I've lost. This is the second child. This is my second child. I lost a daughter back in 2014. She only lived for an hour after giving birth, and that was painful. But they they're both two uncomparable tragedies in my life. But God is turning that into triumph. Going back to my son, leading up to his celebration of life, I had to. You never think that you would have to write an obituary for your child. You never think that you got to collect all these pictures to put in a, a program for your child. You never think that, you got to pick out a urn or a casket for your child. You never think that you're taking that one last ride to see your child. You never think that. And I didn't think that. So my question to God was, why my son? The month prior, I had just got ordained. But can I tell you that I did not know, I did not know the price of my yes. I did not know the price of my yes. And when I said yes to God, I had to trust God. And one of the scriptures that I stood on, that I still stand on, is Job, where he says, though ye slay me, yet will I trust you and maintain my ways before you. That is my standing scripture on it. But then, y'all know we just got done with Easter, right? We just got done with Resurrection Sunday. We just got done with Resurrection Sunday yesterday. And I sat back yesterday. I sat back yesterday and I was reflecting on Jesus going to the cross and dying for us. And God took me to John 19:25, where Mary was at the feet. We're speaking of Jesus' mother, Mary, was at the feet of Jesus on the cross. Now, she knew from the beginning that he was the Messiah, but she didn't know how he was, what he would all have to do to become the sacrifice. He didn't know. But let me break it down for you. Let me break it down for you. I'm not saying that my son was a saint. I'm not saying my son was Jesus, the Christ, the second coming. I'm not saying none of that. But let me give some humanity to Mary as a mother, her human side, because I could not find nowhere in the scripture where she knew how Jesus was going to save humanity. She just knew that he was the savior of humanity. I'm sure that as a mother, she was past the stage of anguish at seeing what her son had to endure during in the gruesome way of his death. And we sometimes, as believers, we want to glamorize his death. However, if we look at the time this took place, it was beyond brutal. At that time in the Bible, the worst way to die was by crucifixion to a tree. And I know that Mary, as a mother, she had to been feeling tortured at seeing all of what they were doing to her son and couldn't do anything to stop it. Nothing to stop it. However, she still believed God. She still trusted God. She still trusted God. One of the things that I'm learning in this journey is that, when pain comes, it will reveal the real you. Everyone wants to jump on the double portion that Job received, but don't speak of the anguish he felt at losing everything at once, and knowing he did nothing wrong. Knowing he did nothing wrong. And one of the things that I want to let you know is that we want to turn your pain into purpose. We want to turn your wounds into a witness. We want to turn your test into a testimony. We want to turn your tears into triumph. We want to take you from grief to grace to glory. That's what we are here for. So you click that link tree if you want to be a guest on Breaking the Mold Grief Recovery, because I know that other parents have a voice out there. I know some parents. I have a friend, a couple of that lost a child almost 16 years ago this coming September. And just to see them flourishing and walking and facilitating different types of grief communities, because they did not waste the pain. God told me not to waste the pain. This is why this broadcast has been come to fruition. This is where it was birthed from. It was birthed from the pain of losing my son, of losing my daughter. It was from the birth pain of a mother losing everything that she could think of with her child. I didn't wake up that morning thinking that, I was going to have to bury my child a few days later. But I still trust God. I still trust God. I didn't think that I would have to, watch and see that the anguish of his boys or my daughters, losing a brother and they're losing a father, my mother losing her first grandchild. I didn't think that I would have to go through all of this and watch all this pain around. But what we're not going to do is we're not going to waste the pain. We're not going to waste the pain. Because let me tell you, my oil cost me, and I'm going to do something with this oil. So I'm asking anyone, if they want to be a guest, click on that link tree. If you want to be a part of the first coaching cohort, coming up in May, you could email me. Let me put my email address back up here. You could email me, and we can go ahead and make sure that you get all of the information. Once we open up the door, if you email me, you could get on the mailing list and you will have first dibs before it be open up to the public. How about that? You will have first dibs. But don't allow grief to stagnate you. Don't allow grief to paralyze you. Don't allow grief not to allow you to live your life. Live your life by honoring those that have transitioned. If you have a child that you're stuck somewhere, I want to hear from you. And if you're walking in that grace period, I want to hear from you. And if you're walking in that glory, I definitely want to hear from you. Like I stated, this is not a platform just for me. This is a platform to give voice to the voiceless, to get your story, because you never know what your story would do for someone else that is going through a similar situation as you are. You never know. So it's time to open up your mouth in this season, even if you have to cry through it. As you saw me, I had to cry through it. You cry through it. Cry through it, but get your story out there, because you don't know what type of impact that you will make on those that are listening to your voice. That are those that are listening to your voice. But I am honored. I am honored that you all listen tonight. Um, Normally the show will be an hour long, but since it's just me today, I just wanted to come on and introduce who I am, what this show is about, what this platform is about, what we're trying to to accomplish in here is that we want to go from grief to grace to glory. We want to turn your tears into triumph. We want to turn your pain into purpose. We don't want you to waste that pain. And we don't want you to stay in pause in transition. We don't want you to stay in the pit, because I'm coming for you. I'm coming for those that are stuck. I'm coming for you. So email me if you want to be a part of the first coaching cohort that started in May, or you can click on the link tree. If you want to be a guest, look for the tab where it says podcast guest. Fill out that form and we will have a conversation. We will have a conversation. So once again, I want to thank you all for joining me this evening. We will be here every other Monday at 7 p.m. Next time, I will be having a guest on, and it will be a lot longer. It will be an hour long. And I can't wait to see you. I can't wait to hear from you. But share this video out, because I know that someone needs to hear this. I know that someone needs to hear this. But I want to thank you all for coming in. Remember, don't waste the pain. Let's turn your tears into triumph, and let's go from grief, grace, glory. Y'all, peace and blessings.